Marlon Jacobs and Leah Jones win defamation suit against Allison Hunt. On January 24, 2025, the Honorable Madam Justice Zamila Ali-Sipal ruled in favor of Marlon Jacobs, also known as Freedom Boss, and his partner Leah Jones in their defamation suit against Allison Hunt. The court case stemmed from allegations made by Ms. Hunt during a Facebook Live session, where she accused Jacobs and Jones of being involved in cocaine trafficking, among other defamatory claims. In response, both Jacobs and Jones instituted legal action against Hunt. The trial judge agreed with the plaintiffs, stating that their reputations had been harmed and their characters defamed. The following orders were made against Allison Hunt. A permanent injunction was granted, preventing Hunt from making any further defamatory statements about Jacobs and Jones on social media or other platforms. Damages were awarded to Jacobs in the amount of GYD $3 million and to Jones in the amount of GYD $3 million, with interest to be paid on these sums. Hunt is also required to cover legal costs, amounting to GYD $500,000 for Jacobs and GYD $400,000 for Jones. All costs must be paid by March 10, 2025. Jacobs and Jones were represented by attorneys Renee Marcus, Casside Nurse, and UC Anderson, with Malachi Griffith serving as the lead paralegal. They expressed their profound gratitude for the court's ruling, which restores their reputations. Government to probe abuse of sick leave by public servants. In response to concerns over productivity and the delivery of government services, President Irfan Ali has announced an investigation into the alleged abuse of sick leave among public servants, as well as the role of doctors who may be facilitating this practice. During a recent meeting with heads of various departments, including health and education, the president highlighted ongoing human resource constraints within government offices, exacerbated by frequent sick leave approvals from staff members. Key points from the president's announcement. Concerns raised. Officials reported that some employees are misusing sick leave, particularly key personnel whose absence significantly impacts productivity and service delivery. The president noted that private doctors are allegedly being used to support this abuse. Call for accountability. President Ali has instructed all program heads to implement measures that ensure efficient government service delivery. He emphasized that the issue of sick leave cannot continue unchecked, holding officials accountable for the services provided. Mandate for improvement. A clear mandate and strategy have been outlined for program heads, focusing on enhancing the efficiency, reliability, and transparency of government services. Structural and human resource challenges. The president acknowledged various structural issues and human resource challenges contributing to service delivery bottlenecks. He also pointed out complaints from residents about poor government service during community visits. Investment versus service delivery. Despite significant government investment in key sectors, the president noted ongoing complaints about service delivery, attributing these issues in part to absenteeism and indiscipline within the system. The government aims to address these challenges promptly to improve the effectiveness of its services and ensure accountability among public servants. Speed bumps impede ambulance access during critical times, says Minister Edge Hill. Qaeda News. In a recent address during the handing over of traffic resources to the Guyana Police Force, Minister of Public Works, Juan Edge Hill, highlighted a pressing issue regarding the use of speed bumps on roads. While these structures are intended to combat speeding, Minister Edge Hill raised serious concerns about their impact on emergency services, particularly ambulances. Minister Edge Hill emphasized that speed bumps, while effective at reducing vehicle speeds, can significantly delay the response time of ambulances during critical moments. I want all of you gathered here to think about your mother, grandmother, or wife in an ambulance where 2 minutes to medical attention means a lot, he stated. If the ambulance has to navigate speed bumps, that 2 minutes could be lost. Reflecting on the consequences of delayed emergency responses, Edge Hill remarked, "I am sorry are some of the most important words that should be said, but nobody wants to hear that from a doctor." He cautioned that although there is a strong demand for speed bumps, they may not be the ultimate solution. They might suppress speeding, but they can also hinder accessibility at critical times when minutes can mean the difference between life and death. In addition to addressing the issue of speed bumps, Minister Edge Hill called for a cultural shift in how road safety and traffic concerns are managed in Guyana. He urged the public to foster greater peer pressure to discourage reckless driving behaviors and underscored the necessity of personal responsibility, especially concerning drunk driving. Man wanted for 11 years charged with murder. Guyana Chronicle. 38-year-old Benny Charles Adams, a farmer from Campbelltown Village, Potaro, Region No. 8, has been arrested and charged with murder after evading law enforcement for over a decade. The charge was filed on January 23, 2025, in connection with the death of 66-year-old Gilbert Adams, also a farmer, from Manawaran Village, Northwest District, Region No. 1. The alleged murder occurred on May 22, 2013, in Manawaran Village. Adams was apprehended on January 19, 2025, and subsequently appeared via Zoom at a Curro Magistrates Court in Region No. 1, where the charge was formally read to him. He was not required to enter a plea and has been remanded to prison. The case has been adjourned, with the next court date set for March 3, 2025, for the submission of statements. GRA staff and police officer found guilty of computer-related forgery. In a significant ruling, former Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, staff member Regwell Jack and police officer Winston Small were found guilty of computer-related forgery under the Cybercrime Act by Magistrate Annette Singh in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Magistrate Singh sentenced Officer Small to 6 months of imprisonment, while Jack was fined $100,000, which must be paid within 2 weeks. Failure to comply will result in an additional 6 months of imprisonment. The prosecution, led by Attorney-at-Law David Brathwaite, along with prosecutors Aaron Daniels and Neville Jeffers from the Special Organized Crime Unit, SOCU, presented evidence that revealed a scheme orchestrated by Small in October 2021. Small arranged for Shaquan Caesar, a minibus conductor, to obtain a driver's license for $83,000. He advised Caesar to use the license of Antony Solomon Jacobs, a bus driver, and to have the photograph altered. Caesar, claiming to have lost his driver's license and identification card, sought an affidavit from a clerk at the Marriage Building in Georgetown, stating that he was Jacobs. Upon obtaining the affidavit, Small accompanied Caesar to the GRA, where Jack, as a lodgement clerk, processed a driver's license for Caesar under Jacobs's name using the License Revenue Processing System, LRPS. Magistrate Singh confirmed that the prosecution successfully established the elements of computer-related forgery, leading to the guilty verdicts for both defendants. Officer Small was represented by Attorney-at-Law Clyde Ford, while Regwell Jack was represented by Attorney-at-Law Ronald Daniels. Duo on trial for murder of Borda market vendor. Guyana Chronicle. 2 men, Akeem Morris and Roy Sandiford, have been brought to trial for the 2018 murder of Troy Ramalho, a well-known vendor at Borda Market. The case is currently being heard by Justice Navindra Singh and a jury at the Demerara High Court. Both defendants, aged 32 and 39 respectively, have pleaded not guilty to the charges. Morris, a minor from Sandy Bab Street, Kitty, Georgetown, and Sandiford, a resident of Section Abe Sophia, Georgetown, are accused of fatally shooting Ramalho during a robbery attempt on August 15, 2018, near Borda Market. The prosecution, represented by attorneys Muntaz Ali and Christopher Belfield, has presented evidence indicating that Ramalho, a 45-year-old vendor known for selling cheese and eggs in front of Rambarans on Robb Street, was ambushed around 11 p.m. on the night of the incident. Reports suggest that Ramalho resisted the robbery attempt, which resulted in him being shot by one of the 3 armed assailants. Despite immediate assistance from those nearby, Ramalho succumbed to his injuries. Akeem Morris is being defended by attorney Kiswana Jefford, while Roy Sandiford's defense is led by attorney Dexter Todd. Guyana man wanted by police nabbed with gun and ammo. Guyana Times. A 37-year-old man, Kellen McLeod, also known as Penny, has been arrested in Linden, Region 10, Upper Demerara Burbus, after being found in possession of an illegal firearm and ammunition. McLeod, a resident of Cayenne, French Guiana, was wanted by police for a previous break-and-enter incident. On Wednesday, police conducting a mobile patrol visited the Christianberg ball field in Linden, where they discovered McLeod on the pavilion. Known to law enforcement, he was subjected to a search, during which officers uncovered a 9mm firearm along with 14 live rounds of ammunition concealed in his crotch. McLeod was promptly arrested and taken to the Vismar police station, where he remains in custody as investigations continue. Fatal accident along Teparu Trail leaves 1 dead, several injured. The police are investigating a fatal incident that occurred at approximately 6:45 HRS on January 24, 2025, on the 8-mile trail, Teparu, in Bartica. The incident involved a motor pickup, GJJ 4867, owned and driven by Faisal Husman, a 45-year-old resident of 4 Miles Potaro Road, Bartica, and a motor lorry, GXX 6658, driven by Aubrey Ralph Gaskin, a 32-year-old from Grove, East Bank Demerara. The lorry also carried occupants Venaish Sunchin of Little Diamond and Shamar Henry of Tushin Housing Scheme, East Bank Essequibo. Incident details. Preliminary investigations revealed that the lorry, GXX 6658, was traveling along the northern side of 8 Mile Trail at a high speed, while the pickup, GJJ 4867, was heading in the opposite direction, also at a fast rate, with barrels filled with fuel in the tray. The driver of the pickup lost control, resulting in a head-on collision with the lorry. The impact caused injuries to the driver and occupants of the lorry, while the driver of the pickup was pinned inside his vehicle, which subsequently burst into flames. Emergency response. Public-spirited citizens assisted in removing the lorry driver and occupants from the vehicle, placing them in a passing vehicle that took them to Bartica Regional Hospital for medical attention. The Guyana Fire Service was summoned and arrived promptly to extinguish the fire. The burnt body of the pickup driver was recovered from the wreckage and taken to the Bartica Regional Hospital, where a doctor pronounced him dead on arrival. Medical treatment. The lorry's occupants received medical treatment as follows. Venaish Sunchin was treated for a fractured right foot and discharged. Aubrey Gaskin received treatment for an abrasion on his right foot and was also released. Shamar Henry was admitted for observation. Investigation status. The driver of the lorry, Aubrey Gaskin, is currently in custody and is assisting with the ongoing investigation. Further inquiries are being conducted to determine the exact circumstances surrounding the accident. AFC to engage international community on concerns about GCOM's readiness for elections. News source Guyana. The Alliance for Change, AFC, has announced plans to engage the international community as early as next week regarding concerns over the Guyana Elections Commission's, GCOM, readiness to conduct elections this year. This decision follows a meeting between an AFC team and GCOM officials on Thursday. Key concerns raised. At the meeting, AFC leader Nigel Hughes expressed serious doubts about GCOM's capability to host elections, citing a lack of action on recommendations made by regional and international observers after the controversial 2020 elections. Hughes stated that GCOM had not conducted any review of the 2020 elections or its operational processes, which he described as deeply disturbing. No review of 2020 elections. Hughes emphasized that GCOM admitted to not reviewing the 2020 elections, its internal operations, or the performance of third-party suppliers involved in the electoral process. Unaddressed recommendations. The AFC leader criticized GCOM for failing to implement any of the observers' recommendations, which included reassessing and overhauling the voter registration process and technology. Background context. The Atlanta-based Carter Center reported that there were 660,988 registered voters for the 2020 elections, a figure that represented a 15.5% increase from the 2015 elections. The report raised concerns that this number appeared disproportionate to the country's estimated population, recommending significant changes before the next election. While the National Assembly amended several election laws in December 2022, the voters list remains contentious. GCOM has repeatedly stated that it can only adhere to existing laws, and the opposition has called for enhanced biometric measures at polling stations. AFC's plans moving forward. Hughes announced that the AFC would approach various international bodies, including CARICOM, the Organization of American States, the Carter Center, and the European Union, to inform them of GCOM's lack of compliance with past recommendations. Call for pressure. The AFC aims to exert pressure on both the government and GCOM to address critical issues, particularly the need for enhanced biometric systems. Confidence in GCOM's capacity. Hughes conveyed that the AFC lacks confidence in GCOM's ability to conduct free and fair elections, citing a lack of cohesion and direction within the Commission. The AFC's revelations about GCOM's management practices have raised alarms about the electoral process's integrity as the nation approaches the 2025 elections. Tribunal appointed to probe disciplinary charges against ACP Calvin Brutus. Kaider News. The Police Service Commission, PSC, has established a special tribunal to investigate serious disciplinary charges against Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Brutus. This comes amid ongoing scrutiny as Brutus faces over 240 criminal charges in the Georgetown Magistrates Court related to alleged misconduct during his tenure as Deputy Commissioner of Police from August 2020 to July 2024. Tribunal composition and charges. The tribunal was convened on Wednesday and is chaired by Shoshana V. Lal, with members Keoma Griffith, an attorney, and former Commissioner of Police Seelal Persad. Administrative support will be provided by Hugh Park, appointed as Secretary, with Bernard da Silva serving as counsel. The PSC outlined the legal framework for the tribunal and detailed the specific charges against Brutus. He faces 2 counts of conduct prejudicial to good order and discipline under Section 4Z of the Police, Discipline Act, Chapter 1701. The first charge concerns Brutus' involvement in directing a payment of $13,670,204 from the Guyana Police Force's Welfare Fund, which violated the force's Standing Order 36. The second charge pertains to the alleged falsification of records at the quartermaster stores, where Brutus is accused of creating false documentation to claim that goods worth $101,431,050 had been delivered by a contractor. Ongoing legal issues. This investigation coincides with Brutus filing a lawsuit against the government, contesting the diversity policy of the Guyana Police Force, GPF. He alleges racial discrimination and seeks $1.6 billion in damages for violations of his constitutional rights, including the right to equal protection and freedom from racial discrimination. In a statement, the tribunal clarified that it would not interfere with Brutus' ongoing criminal proceedings, emphasizing that it would respect his right to defend himself in those matters. Hearing attendance issues. Despite the tribunal's proceedings, Brutus has failed to attend scheduled sessions. He submitted a medical certificate on January 22, 2025, claiming he was unable to work due to back pain and muscle strain, requesting a rescheduling of the hearing. However, upon consulting the doctor who issued the certificate, the tribunal learned that Brutus' condition did not preclude him from attending either in person or virtually. The doctor later indicated that he was unaware of Brutus' scheduled appearance when he issued the certificate. Despite this, Brutus again did not attend the hearing on January 23, 2025, raising concerns among tribunal members regarding his attempts to evade the proceedings. Next steps. In light of these developments, the tribunal has reissued a summons for Brutus to appear on January 27, 2025, at 9 o'clock HRS, either virtually or in person. The PSC has emphasized the importance of completing the proceedings within the mandated 28-day time frame from January 22, 2025, unless an extension is necessary. The PSC, which holds the authority to exercise disciplinary control over individuals above the rank of inspector within the Guyana Police Force, reiterated its commitment to conducting a thorough and timely investigation. Government's economic policies have left Guyanese poorer, claims MP Fernandez. News source Guyana. The national budget debate commenced this morning with sharp criticism from opposition member of Parliament Juritha Fernandez, who accused the government of implementing economic policies that have left Guyanese citizens poorer despite the influx of oil revenues. During her address, MP Fernandez highlighted the alarming statistic that the country's poverty rate has risen to 48%, even with a substantial budget of $1.382 trillion fueled by oil wealth. This is the stark reality of PPP governance. Spending over $3 trillion in oil revenues from 2020 to 2024 has made our people poorer, she stated. By the end of 2025, she warned, the administration will have spent $4.7 trillion, equating to over $22 million per household. Yet, she argued that families across Guyana are not seeing improvements in their financial situations. Fernandez emphasized the disconnect between government spending and the lived experiences of ordinary citizens. Walk through any community in Guyana, speak to any family, and ask them, are you $22 million better off? The answer echoes through every market, every street, every home. No, she remarked, noting that working families are struggling more than ever. Accusations of mismanagement. The opposition MP accused the government of mismanaging the country's financial resources to benefit a select few, calling it a systematic betrayal of the Guyanese people. She pointed out that the salary increases for public servants do not keep pace with the rising inflation rates. According to the Bureau of Statistics, inflation increased by 20% from 2019 to 2024, with food inflation soaring by 44.8% during the same period. Inflation in food items does not affect the wealthy. It impacts the working class and is detrimental to the working poor, Fernandez said. While the current administration announced wage increases of only 35%, food prices have skyrocketed, placing additional strain on households. Rising debt burden. Fernandez also critiqued the government for failing to adjust the minimum wage. She contrasted this with the previous APNU plus AFC administration, which raised wages and salaries by 77% from 2015 to 2019, when inflation was significantly lower at 5.4%. The MP further highlighted the alarming trend of increased borrowing by the government, stating that between 2020 and 2025, the PPP administration added a debt burden of GYD $5.9 million per household. This is not a small amount for struggling families who are barely surviving paycheck to paycheck, she stated, arguing that the increasing debt is enriching the wealthy while leaving the poor to shoulder the financial burden. Discrepancies in economic comparisons. Fernandez criticized the government's comparisons of debt to GDP, asserting it was misleading to compare non-oil GDP under the coalition government to oil-inclusive GDP under the current administration. From 2020 to 2024, the non-oil economy of Guyana grew by 36%, yet the stock of public debt surged by 253%, representing a 7% growth in debt for every 1% growth in the economy, she explained. In conclusion, MP Fernandez argued that the current administration has increased the national debt by 18 times more than the coalition government, spending $2.1 trillion more while only delivering 17% more growth. She called for immediate action to address the economic challenges facing the people of Guyana.